What's up, y'all? It's your girl saying I am here with Kyle Whittington. He runs a Catholic YouTube channel. If you guys remember, if you were on my subs, you remember he interviewed me like October.
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, he's the first guy to ever interview me, and I was like, I'm going to interview you on my channel. And I think this is like the best way to...
I honestly thought you were going to hit me up like a few weeks later, and then like we just do a live stream. Like I'd never imagined it would be this.
I didn't either, but
Here we are. Yeah.
So like do it right here in person. Out here at I'm about to butcher the name. Franciscan. Okay, Franciscan University. So we're at the Catholic University, both here for the debate. It's going to be Trent Horn versus Gavin Ortlund. So let's just hop into it. You said you used to go here.
Yes. Yeah. I went here for a year, basically for the calendar year of 2011. I took a semester off, which basically means after high school, I took a semester off because I was lazy and didn't get an application in, and I missed the deadline. So it started in the spring as opposed to the fall. But it was a good time. Met my wife here. Fun fact about the room that we're in right now. I don't know if y'all can hear the piano in the background, but whenever we were in this room for my orientation, I had the thought, because it was a smaller incoming class. Orientation wasn't it wasn't the big one where you out in the field house. Just a smaller group. And I remember sitting in here thinking to myself, right now, I don't know who she is, but I'm probably sitting in the same room as my future wife right now. And later on, I thought, that's a stupid thought. There's tons of girls here. Like if I do meet my wife here, probably wasn't in that room. And then I did meet my wife later, and she started the same time I did. So whenever I had that thought, I was actually right. She was in this room at that time. So that's like, there's a lot of really good memories in this room.
That was God. He was just...
Yeah, she's here. Don't you worry about it. Yeah.
We were actually talking about that earlier when we were walking around the campus. He said, he was like, when I think about how do Christians meet people, he was like, I never thought like a Christian college, or in this term, a Catholic college.
Right.
Same thing. Well,
yeah.
Same thing. But he was just like, it never hit the brain where it's like, that's where people start off in life if you were raised that way. Which honestly is a good way to meet your future spouse, because you guys obviously have the same values, you have the same religion,
right?
So it works out for...
Yeah, no, actually, you kind of mentioned on this before the interview of how the culture here is so different than what you're seeing. Like people are walking away, leaving their laptops around. You know, I left my car unlocked here. And it's just because of the culture here at Franciscan, the peer pressure leads you to virtue. And that's why it's a really unique university. So if anybody, like any Catholic people out there, like considering like, hey, where should I send my kids? Please consider Franciscan, because the culture here is just so good. You're going to have friends that like, you know, while other friends will be like, hey, you know, other universities will be like, hey, we're going to this party. There's going to be tons of girls, tons of booze there. Like, it's like, all right, yeah, let's go. Here, there is still that here. Don't get me wrong, but you got to kind of go out looking for it. Here, it'll be more like, hey, mass is starting in 15 minutes. Let's go.
Yeah, we went to the chapel.
Yeah.
I saw how that worked, and I did the holy water for the first time, because I was just like, I don't know how to do this, and I watched somebody else come in, and I just mimicked. I was like, okay, I saw her do all this.
Yep.
All right.
It's the same as the Konami It's, you know, up, down, left, right. So
yeah.
So
it worked out, man. It is wonderful, because the culture, I also noticed the difference where like when people greet each other, even men, I noticed everything we saw here, guys were just like, hey man, what's going on? They were hugging each other. Everybody was like so kind. Like when you talk to somebody and walk away, be like, okay, thank you. And they'd be like, yes, have a blessed day. And it's like, oh, I don't hear that. Like
never.
Anywhere else. Yeah. Everyone here is so kind.
Yeah, no,
I love
it's a wonderful place.
Yeah. So, after you left here, what was your journey from after town?
Yeah, so I started here in 2011 with like a half-cocked plan. Like I had no plan except for like I literally came up here like on a wing and a prayer. Midway through my second semester, I knew that like the money was gone. I wasn't going to be able to come back. I couldn't afford it. So I actually went down to Fort Steuben Mall over there, went to the Armed Services Office, and enlisted in the Air Force. So I went to MEPS, for those of you who are familiar with the military. Went to MEPS in Pittsburgh, and then actually finally shipped out of Oklahoma City. But so I joined the Air Force. I was 6 years active duty, and in that time, I did a whole bunch of different things. I deployed to Afghanistan. I married my wife, had 2 children while we were active duty, and then after that, I, after active duty, got out, joined the Air National Guard, moved to St. Louis, and then that's where we are located here to this day. And yeah, so that's kind of the 100,000 foot overview of what my story after Franciscan looks like.
What made you decide, like, hey, I'm going to start a YouTube channel?
Oh, goodness. So it was kind of an accident because I had no intention of, like, doing this. I guess I had kind of, like, kicked around the idea. But then on Matt Frad's Locals, he, like, suggested, like, hey, I want to hear y'all's stories. So if you want to record, like, a little video telling how you came to Catholicism, I want to hear it. So I was like, you know what? Okay, fine. I had no idea what I was doing. It was literally, like, my MacBook, its built-in camera, and my AirPods, which, if I'm remembering correctly, I don't even think the microphone was even working because it sounds awful. The video's up on my YouTube channel if you want to go check it out. And I was thinking, I thought max 12 people are going to watch this, and they're all going to come from people that, like, I'm going to send it to like 30 people and 12 of them are actually going to watch it, and that'll be it. That's kind of what I thought. But, like, I uploaded it and didn't really think anything of it. And then, like, a couple months later, I noticed, I was like, this has like 1,500 views. What's going on here? And I noticed how things kept picking up steam. And I think, like, as of this recording, there's like 6,000 views on it or something like that, which, you know, for a little nobody channel, I mean, that's huge. So I was just like, that's okay. And at the time, there was a Catholic YouTuber who lived like 20 minutes south of me named David L. Gray. And he's a great guy. Like, he was very gracious. He gave me a lot of tips and tricks and stuff like that. And he gave me some tips, like, he's like, hey, your camera may suck, but that's fine. Get a really good microphone because nobody's going to watch your stuff. They're just going to be listening. So I did that, and I just started cranking out videos just one at a time. And I'd like to think that they've progressively gotten better, but it's fun. It's a fun hobby that I can do in the house, and I can, you know, if I need to step away to help out with the kids, it's super easy. And yeah, so I guess that's how I got into YouTube. It's kind of an accident.
Which then led to, I guess before Discord, it was Telegram.
Yeah, I was on Telegram. I'm like one of like 3 people who've been banned from Telegram. Yeah, so I got connected with some pretty cool people on there. But I looked it up on Reddit later. Apparently, like, Telegram just randomly bans people, and I think that's what happened to me. Because I couldn't get their customer service to help me out at all. So I was like, whatever, okay. But yeah, so now I've got a Discord. So if y'all want to, like, head over to my channel, check out the Discord. Would love to have you on. So Protestant, Catholic, doesn't matter. As long as you keep your questions respectful, it's all good.
Yeah, so I'm gonna link all that in the description box below if you guys want to check any of that out. And also the Discord, everybody in there is so nice. Compared to, like, some other Christian Discords that but everybody in there is nice. And I was telling him earlier, you guys, every time you guys tell me to do something, I literally have went and done it.
Oh, wow.
So when you were just like, oh, you should go to this debate.
Boom,
or
here you are.
This debate. Haley was like, you should go to that church. I went to the church.
And have we led you wrong yet? I mean, we'll find out maybe at the end of the day, but...
Well, for this, yeah.
Yeah.
So far, no. And then even when talking to Roxy and I asked about the Easter Vigil stuff, and she's like, you should just go do it. And blah, blah. She's like, okay.
Yeah.
So, like, that's my Easter now. I'm going to go.
Praise be to God. That's amazing.
I have to, like, figure out where to go in my city for that. But, like,
honestly,
I'm going to figure it out.
Honestly, like, find a church that you think has pretty pictures. If it looks pretty, go to that one.
Oh, that's...
Yeah, I mean,
no, we find good churches.
Okay, so that may sound like a really superficial reason to do that, but whenever, especially like guys, like, why did you go talk to that girl? Eventually, because she was pretty, and so it's there's nothing wrong with like that initial attraction being because of beauty, and like obviously it can't stay there forever. It's got to deepen, but yeah, so that's why I say it's like find a pretty church, go to that one.
Sounds like some good advice.
Yeah.
Your experience. So I remember your testimony. You started out Baptist or
Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal. I was kind of all over the place, honestly.
Okay. What was your viewpoint on Catholics prior to that? And then when did that start warping and changing for you to be like, okay, let me really
oh boy,
get into
Yeah, so my view of Catholics or Catholicism in general before all of this was nothing specific, but generally negative. And if you would ask me, it's like, why did you like Catholics? I said, well, because they call priests father. Anything else? No, like that's literally it. I don't know anything else. So like I would say that like it was, if any of my dislike, it was based out of ignorance. So I thought that was cool. So if you've heard my story, it was literally an invite from a cute girl with a promise of free pizza that first got me to going. But ultimately, what I think, if I'm being honest, what really got me to soften up on Catholicism, it was going to be the friendship and the relationships of the people at St. Patrick's in Denison, Texas. They cared about me. They were extremely nice. And I started going back, and the priest was just so amazing. He was so respectful. And I just softened up over time. And then obviously it helped that like whenever I had questions, there were answers. And these guys were just on it. They could tell me exactly where I needed to go to find the answer that I was trying to get. So, but yeah, that's does that answer the question? Okay.
That answers the question. So the pretty girl, like you said, prettiness gets you there.
Yep.
But it didn't like ultimately keep you there.
Yeah. Yeah. And for the record, like y'all notice, like I said, I met my wife here, not at that church. Like I did not get married to that pretty girl. Like
it was funny when I was watching that video and you were just like, oh yeah, the pretty girl got me there. I'm like, oh, that probably ended up being the wife. And then you were just like, side note, I didn't marry her, date her, or anything. I was like, oh.
It's so awkward telling that story in front of my wife because people are like, oh yeah, is this her? And you're just like, what? Oh no, not her.
No, that's not her. That's not her at all.
Yeah, she's great, but no.
It's funny. So my brother's wife made a great distinction where she said, when you get into religion, I guess you were already kind of religious, but what got you into this? She said it's usually somebody that's like maybe 1 or 2 steps ahead of you. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not necessarily going to keep you there, but you kind of need somebody to like, it's easier to be led in by somebody not that far ahead versus somebody that's like leagues ahead of you. Because when I was listening to your testimony, it was kind of the same for me. Not a hot guy or anything, but it's just the fact that somebody close enough to me in age and like how far out they were starting, were just like, huh, okay.
Yeah.
If you could do this, I could do this. But that person didn't keep me here.
Right.
Because I'm actually don't follow that person anymore. But like,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
It's interesting. I'd love to hear more about that later, but it sounds like a story for another time. But
I would say if somebody came to you with questions on like, what would bring me over into religion, period, it's if they came like, Kyle, I see how your life is, and I'm nowhere near there. I don't believe in anything, but like, I like what you got going on, right? And you're like, how would you respond to that person if they were like, how do I get here? And how would I even begin with religion in any aspect?
I suppose the first thing that I would do is to just like grab them by the collar and just go, how dare you talk to me? No. Well, obviously, okay, so as cliche as it is, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So you need to befriend them first before you start trying to educate them, come in yelling at them, you're going to hell, stuff like that. Somebody does that, they should be like, okay, cool, middle finger and walk away. And so, if somebody says like, I want what you have, it'll be like, okay, when was the last time you prayed? Like, and just go from there. And, there's different aspects too, because, so a lot of times people come to me for career advice and stuff like that too. So I was like, now career advice I think is a little bit more difficult, maybe easier in some aspects, but I have had people come up to me and say like, wow, Kyle, I want what you have. It's like, how'd you get here? It's like, well, I joined the Air Force. I did this, and this, and this. And they're like, I don't want to do any of that. And it's just like, okay, cool, bye. But like joining the church isn't quite as drastic, and in some ways more drastic than that. Because, it's just like, what do you want to do? It's like, well, the first thing you do is, study. If you live in the U.S., you've got objections to Catholicism if you're not already Catholic. Or if you are Catholic, you may have some, like, unresolved, like, I don't know why we do this. But I don't really have a good answer for that. Work through those objections. find out that it's reasonable, because I don't want anybody to go in to a mass just because, like earlier example with a threat of violence. It's like, no, that shouldn't be, that nobody should be threatening you for that. But like, once you know a few of the answers, know what's going on a little bit, when you see the mass, you experience it, that's going to be far more efficacious. And then, study that kind of a little bit like what you've done already too. Like, you've been reading, you've been talking with us, we've become your friends. And, and it's just like, and if you never become Catholic, like we don't have a timer going and be like, listen, you've got till September. And then after that, like, we're done. No, it's just like, we will be your friends as long as like you'll tolerate us. So it's just focusing on that relationship, building that, and then finding commonalities. He's like, even the most vicious anti-Catholics to be like, okay, but we both agree that Jesus Christ died for our sins and rose from the dead. We can both say Christ is King. And so from there, we can build out and see where the actual differences are. So I suppose, like, if somebody said, like, hey, I want to do this, what should I do? It's just like, just get to know them a little better, because everybody's different.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I think when I first started, I watched a lot of, like, the street preacher videos. And while some are, like, okay.
Yeah.
Others, it is, like, a lot of yelling.
Yeah.
And then people come yelling back, and you're just arguing, and you're being assaulted, and it's like, I don't think that's a good way to evangelize, get the point across, because when I didn't believe, I would see stuff like that, and I would just be like,
yeah,
I don't like.
We're out to win hearts and minds and ultimately souls, not arguments. Because winning an argument is, easy. You just study and you get the right answers, and then boom, you just dunk on somebody with the right answers. Cool. You may have won the argument. That person's walking away dejected. So yeah, it's just, that's, maybe that's worked on some people, and if it has, praise be to God. If God can use cute girl and a free pizza on an idiot like me, he can absolutely use a street preacher or someone too.
Yeah, he can, because there's been people that have said, but they've had better interactions with the street preachers, where they've been like, yeah, I was saved by a street preacher. He came and talked to me and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I've seen videos like that before too, and I'm like, those are wonderful.
Absolutely.
I just don't like the super crazy one.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not gonna name drop anybody, but there's like one street guy who like come up and just like ask them like really awkward questions, and they're just this girl's just trying to like eat her lunch on a park bench, and it's just like, yeah, hi, I'm not sure how to answer that. Could you go away? And you could tell that she's uncomfortable by it, and she's just answering the questions to get this guy to go away. And so yeah, it's just like some of those are kind of cringy.
I know you have like a series on your channel called Low Hanging Fruit.
Oh yeah, that one's a fun one.
How did that start? Because it's not like you weren't doing that in.
Right. So it kind of all started with the announcement of Cameron Bertuzzi becoming Catholic. And you can look it up, and like, it's this, I'll be honest, I hate thumbnails in general. I hate making them. I hate doing them, but like, I understand this is what you got to do to get people to click, and it's awful. But anyway, so you see me like making this face at this guy, like reacting to Cameron Bertuzzi's conversion. And I just kind of like hit the record button, on OBS, had my little thing in there, and I just did like a live reaction to this guy's stuff. And he had like some of the dumbest arguments that I've ever heard in my life. And it's just like, bro, especially whenever it comes to a religion like Catholicism, where like all of our rules are written down. It's not like you have to like speculate on this. Some of these things are extremely clear, and he's getting like the basics wrong. And it's just like, okay, yep. And so I just kind of went through there and just go through and just kind of reacted to it, responding to what this guy was saying. And, a little bit, I kind of like really got into it, because I like paused the guy and then just instinctively, sorry for cutting you off. And then somebody was just like, did you just apologize to a paused video? And I was just like, yeah, I did, sorry. But yeah, so it started with that. And then I realized like, whenever it comes to anti-Catholicism, like this is what most of these arguments are. Like whenever people hit me with anti-Catholic arguments, it's not the big brain guys like Dr. Ortlund who are going on like really deep dives that like, it's just like, Dr. Ortlund said this, what do you say about that? I was like, I'll be honest, like I have a high school diploma. Like it's just, he's got a PhD. I'm not on his level. But it's really the low hanging fruit. And that way I thought like, well, I could do this stuff, find these really dumb videos that an idiot like me can respond to and, and try to do it in an entertaining way, something that'll make people laugh. So that way, whenever, if a Catholic sees this, they don't get their faith shaken by these low-hanging fruit things. But all these things like, oh, well, you're not going to reach the people that you're responding to. Like, you're probably right. And maybe I'm wrong to do it. But it's kind of like, I kind of don't expect them to listen, even if I was being nice. And if I'm being, nice, I try to keep the snark focused on the arguments, not the person. Because I have no doubt that every person that I've responded to is an intelligent person. But they are, and if I'm going to insult someone's person, I'm only ever calling myself stupid. And so I try to do that just to keep things interesting and whatnot. So yeah, that's kind of how that got started.
Cool, because I like.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That's good to hear.
I like a lot. So in parting, because guys, we're gonna get out of here. We're about to go eat and get ready for everything that's about to happen in this space. What do you see for your future? Whether here, V-cheering, does not matter.
Okay, so if I won the lottery today, I'm quitting my full-time job. We're moving to the Bahamas. No, so I don't know. The only thing that I'm pretty much certain on is that we're not done having kids. We got number 5 on the way. So that's kind of in the background. It's like, okay, so I have to count for more kids coming along. I'd love to move here to Steubenville. And, I'd love to see the channel keep growing. We'll see there. I do work full-time job. Like, YouTube only costs me money. It doesn't make me money. But I enjoy it. I enjoy what I'm doing. Like, I feel like I'm making at least the slightest bit of difference. It's just like, you show up to the pearly gates and I'm right behind somebody like Mother Teresa. She's already canonized, but if I show up and, I see she's got this giant treasure chest of everything that she's committed, like I might have a little thimble, but it's just like, it's almost like a child, like presenting their macaroni art to their parent. It's like, is the macaroni art like worth something? No, it's worth nothing. It's trash. But, at the same time, it's still pleasing to the parents. It's just like, if I hand my little thimble of difference to God, which doesn't add anything to like his saving work for us, but it's like, here's my little thimble, look at it, it's like, oh, that's so cute. Well done. It's like, okay, get in here. That's I guess that's kind of what I'm hoping to do. So, sorry it's not as specific because it's just like, honestly, it's like, I have no idea. Like, I figure, what does the future hold? Like, tomorrow I might get breakfast.
That's okay. Like,
Yeah.
The other type of person be like, oh no, tomorrow I'll do this though.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
All right. Did you want to plug anything? Get out of here outside of your YouTube.
CrossTheTiber.org. For those of you who are investigating Catholicism, if you are, if you're hearing some of these things, like, I don't, some of this stuff sounds legit, but I still have concerns. We've got a Discord server that you can go to CrossTheTiber.org, go in there, and we are there to basically create, I know it's kind of a trigger word, but like a safe space. Is like, you can ask the hard-hitting questions. You can say, like, hey, I think that, it's like, oh, I have a problem with the fact that Catholics worship Mary. And I was like, okay, so we will gently, like, okay, we don't worship Mary. Well, I heard this YouTuber say this. Okay, that's fine. Let's talk about this a little bit and walk through it. So we call it relational apologetics, where we befriend somebody, we want to know where they're coming from. And so that way we can address your concerns in the way that's best fitted to you. Because, if I come in to, honestly, men and women always will approach topics differently. I noticed, and this isn't always, like, there are some women who are like way more like logically focused than I am. And there are some men who are like very emotionally driven. I actually just had lunch with a guy that he says like what made him Catholic was like a very emotional and spiritual experience. He's like, it wasn't the arguments that got him. So, different approaches for different people, because, if I hit like one of these like emotionally driven people with like hard hitting facts and logic, and they're just gonna be like, wow, you're really mean. you know, and it's just like, and then boom, now that person doesn't want to talk to you. And then you got some other people who are just like, oh, listen, I'm not looking to be coddled. I need you to hit me with hard logic. And then, okay, we can do that. And it's like, let's go get in the ring. Let's go, you know. So, but yeah, crossthetiber.org. Great organization. I'm an apologist there. So if you want to come talk to me, come ask me questions, that's where you can find me as well. But yeah, so I guess that's the only other thing that I'd like to plug.
Nice.